Have you ever had a bill that was so huge that you thought, there's no way I'm going to pay this? And then all of a sudden, you look under your mattress or you look at your bank account and realize you've made an incredible error, or money just shows up and you're like, wow, it's enough to pay. That's great. Maybe have you ever you just had no idea how to fix something in your home, and all of a sudden you realized, that you have someone that is an expert at that's in your family that would just do it for free and no problem, and all of that. Or what if you didn't have a job and you needed money really bad, and you needed it because you got to provide for your family, and all of a sudden you realized, I have a friend who owns a business that's hiring people for $80,000 a year to do nothing. In any of those situations, they sound crazy, right? But what would you do in those situations? You would reach out. You would pick up the money from under the mattress. You would reach out to the friend. You would reach out to the business owner and say, hey, to help solve your problem. That's a no-brainer, right? But the truth is that all of us have things like that right now, and we don't use the solutions. We have problems and things going on in our lives and things that are tough, and for the most of us, we have solutions within our reach, and we just don't use them. And why is that? Well, I'm going to talk about that today and show you some things that you may not realize that you have at your disposal that you're probably not using, or not using to the full potential of, and to see what happens to the things that are going on in your life where you may need help with them. So I'm going to talk about that just in a few minutes, but right now my name is Jim Campbell. I'm the lead pastor of Bay West Church, and I'm so glad that you chose to be a part of us on this weekend, whether this is the weekend that it airs or whether it's way down the road. Hey, we are meeting in person at 11:15 on Sundays at 100 Emerson Drive, Northwest, Palm Bay, Florida, 32907. If you're in the South Brevard area, we would love to have you come be a part of our services in person if you're comfortable with that. We do have, for parents, we do have KIDZONE. We from birth until nursery up through elementary school, and we are going and working on precautions and stuff, trying to keep people safe during COVID. But that is available. That runs concurrent in the middle through our service. So we have things for the kids. Our children's leader, Maggie Pearson, does an outstanding job there. If you're still concerned about the virus and you want to stay, no problems at all. We'll still be here on Sundays or on each weekend, putting out a new service here for you to participate in and be a part of, because you're not just watching, you're participating. God is speaking to you. He plans to be speaking to you. You're going to be speaking and praying to God during this time, and God has some great things to share with you, not because we're great or our music is great or anything else, but just because through obedience to God, God does amazing things through people's lives, simply through obedience. And it's great, and that's going to happen today. If you are a parent and you're like, man, I don't want to bring my kids back out, they're still doing e-learning, all this type of stuff, not really comfortable with that, no problem. You can join our Facebook group, which our KIDZONE, our Bay West KIDZONE Facebook group. And our children's leader puts up a video each week that is curriculum that we use here in KIDZONE, and you can watch that video with your kid. It's fun, it's well done, they're going to love it, and it teaches biblical values and a Bible verse and all that stuff, and then you can actually discuss that. We'll put up a discussion guide that you can ask a few questions to your kid and kind of unpack that some. And don't worry, you don't have to be a theologian, you don't have to be a master Bible scholar to know. You can have that discussion with your kid, and hey, here's a secret. If you run into any problems, there's a number on the screen that says 321-345-3292. You get hung up on something Bible, just say, hey, well, let me figure that out, and delete, text it. If you text me during the service, probably not going to answer, but I will answer later, so no problem at all. But anyway, so if you're not a part of a life group, we have small group Bible studies that meet across the town. We meet across the Palm Bay and South Brevard area. We also have those are also online. They're hybrid groups, so you'll have people in the room, you'll have people online. So if you want to zoom in, you can do that. Just go to baywestchurch.com/groups and then find a group, and there's the list of the groups that we have. Choose one that's great for you, and then just click on the link and go for it. And you'll say, join this group, and a leader get in touch with you, and you are in like Flynn, just like that. If you'd like to give your tithes and offerings, you can obviously do that by going to baywestchurch.com/give securely online, or if you'd rather send in a check, that's totally okay. We make this opportunity for obedience available to you. So just mail it to Bay West Church, 100 Emerson Drive, Northwest, Palm Bay, Florida, 32907. But for right now, what I'd love for you to do is just to sit back, take the things that are maybe on your mind this morning. Let's take a moment in prayer. I mean, because I know we all bring the cares of the week or that have come from the weekend or the week, or we're about to launch out into new stuff on Monday, or maybe even things are going on today. But let's take a few moments and let's just clear our minds and give God a place to speak to us. Would you join me in prayer? God, we thank you so much for all that you're doing, Lord. And Lord, sometimes we have to fight through the tough stuff that's going on in our lives. We have to fight through it. We have to put it to the side. We're concerned about it. Lord, you tell us not to worry about it, and yet we still do. So, Lord, but we need your help right now. So on the sound of everyone listening to me right now, as we all are agreeing together in prayer, Lord, we come to you, and we ask you, Lord, please help us set that aside for right now. And Lord, you may have things to tell us that directly apply to that during this time together. You have wisdom for us. But Lord, we want to put it to the side so that we can focus completely on you. And in putting you first, in focusing on you, Lord, you will bring the wisdom that we need to honor you in the situations that we are in and see the greatest outcome that we could dream or imagine. Lord, we thank you for all you are. We trust you for all outcomes that you know more than we do. And Lord, we just put our lives before you right now. Lord, if there's anything within us, any sin, anything, we've got some weirdness between you and I, and there's a, that maybe there's a sin that we're holding on to, God, bring it out right now. And Lord, give us the boldness and the courage to confess that to you. Maybe not out loud, maybe in our minds as we pray to you. But to confess that to you and to say, call it out as wrong and say, I want to stop that. I want to be different. I need your power to help me do that. And follow, recommit once again and clear that relationship up with us. And you help us to do that right now. And Lord, help us to center on you for this next time together. In your name we pray. Amen. You know, a few weeks ago, Katie and I, my wife and I, we were just in the middle of some tough stuff, and yeah, it happens. It happens for pastors and everyone out there, I know. But it was very hard. It was one of those situations where it was almost crippling because, we kind of like to think of ourselves, as I think everybody does, as resourceful and able to take care of ourselves. But we come to a place where like, okay, this problem is just too big for us. We don't know what to do. And as we sat there, I'm not gonna lie, I was in tears, she was in tears, and we're united together to meet the challenge head on, but it just seems so huge and so big. And we really didn't have a plan of action. And all of a sudden I just looked at her and I said, hey, why don't we pray about it? Now I know, don't laugh at me. I know you're saying, hey Jim, you're a pastor. So prayer should be on your mind all the time. But the truth is that we're all people, and we all try to do things on our own steam, and we try to. I'm going to be the task and take care of myself, self-made man, self-made woman, that type of stuff, But so we stopped. We stopped right there, and we said, I have no solution. I mean, it's one of those situations where I don't even know what to ask you for, God, because I don't know what's going to fix things. I don't know what's going to handle this issue, and so we just went to him and said, Lord, I don't know what's up. I don't know how to fix it. I just need you. I just need you bad. And we poured out our heart to him. This is how we feel. This is what's going on, and God, help me, not help me, help my wife, help us together, as we meet this challenge, out there. And literally within 2 hours, something happened that changed the entire situation that I could never have dreamed would have happened. It wasn't even a situation where, hey, here's a deadline and we got to make a decision in X, and and there's 2 ways it can go, and here's the way we want it to go. It was really a situation where we have no idea what needs to happen. But Lord, you need to do something. And we can't. We just can't. So we just need you to do it. And he did something in less than 2 hours that was truly amazing, that I never would have saw coming, that if you had literally told me what was about to happen, that I would probably have said, look, there's literally less than 0.5% chance that will ever happen. But it did. And God did it. And he said it was such a multi-layered solution that just carried on and on and on. And is still reverberating, through the problems in our lives and the situations that we're dealing with. And it's so great to see God move. And I just thought, as I'm sitting there thinking about it, why do we not go to this solution more often? Why did it take it just getting to the point where I got nothing else. I got nothing else in the bag, Lord. I got a big bag of nothing about how to fix this. And to go to God and just say, hey, can you just step in and fix it? Because that's available to us all the time. And I look at our country, and I look at all the problems in our country and all the things that go on in our country, and I just go, you know what? Those are still, while God, it was just like this for God to do this in our life, what would it be, if we let a limitless power to God, if we said, hey, why not let, like we can control him, but if hey, could you fix that? Could I just back up and stop trying to mess in your business, and could you just do this? I think that would be an amazing thing. Next week, and we're going to talk about solution today, because I just don't see why we don't see that. When I look at the Old Testament, I see people New Testament, I see people praying to God and amazing things happen. Why doesn't that happen now? And I think it's one of 2 reasons, really. I think we don't really believe that God can do what can really make a change, or we don't understand the power that's available there, or maybe we're afraid of the changes that he would make. I don't know. But I wonder sometimes, why don't we see people taking vacation days off to spend 8 or 10 hours in prayer about a problem? Why don't we see these type of things and going straight to the top? So often our prayer time is really someone leading it in church or praying before dinner or something like that, and I don't even really think we understand completely what leading in prayer is. I mean, sometimes we think leading in prayer is kind of closing our eyes and making a speech to everybody about being better, and that's not really what it is. When we lead a group in prayer, people will have problems about praying in public, and stuff like that. And when we lead a group in prayer, really, it's kind of like you are taking a group of your friends and you're going to customer service. And your friends have all elected you to speak to the customer service agent on your behalf, and so you're all agreeing and they're all behind you, and you come up and you say, hey, customer service agent person, here is the problem we have. We would like to see something get done. And they're all behind you. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. nod your head up and down is pretty much amen. That's what it means. But, that's what amen means. So, they're all agreeing, and you're just talking to the customer service agent. So many times, when we lead a group in prayer, we actually, in our minds, should be turning our back on the group, and we're talking to God, and they're just coming along with us, and agreeing with us. That's really based on a scripture that says, where 2 or 3 are gathered together, where 2 or 3 agree together, God would meet that need, and that's kind of what that's about, and I think we just miss this wonderful thing about prayer. So what I want to do is take a look in the book of Acts, and I will show you a few things about prayer that we can see from this, and what I want to just implore you to do is whatever's ahead of you, I want you to really lean in. If you're a Christ follower and you have a relationship with Christ, and you do that, you've given your life to Christ, that I want you to lean into prayer with this. And I want to share with you what you're getting. If you don't follow Christ, don't tune out. It's not a big deal. Listen to what is going on. Maybe this will be something that says, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing that in my life, and you may choose to follow Christ as well. But at least wait, you'll understand a little bit more. So I want to look in the book of Acts. There's a story in Acts chapter 4, and let me give kind of backstory to it. See, basically the Sadducees, which were one of the religious leader groups, they're really angry with the Apostle Peter and Apostle John because they were teaching about Jesus and Jesus being resurrected. This is all after the crucifixion, and Jesus has been resurrected and going back to heaven, and the disciples are making their way spreading the church, right, and spreading the gospel. So they got mad at Peter and John, so they had the power to do it. They took them into jail overnight, and, they took them in, and even though they took them into jail, like 5,000 people heard the message and believed in Jesus, and that's just like 5,000 men. That's not even counting women and children. So a massive amount of people heard that message from 2 dudes without a sound system, and began to follow Christ. And you can see why the religious leaders were freaking out, because all of a sudden there's this mass changeover in their area of faith in Christ. And, so they take them before the religious court the next day, which is kind of like, it's called the Sanhedrin. And it really, that word, in Greek actually means council, but it's like, for us, it would be like both the Senate, the Congress, and the Supreme Court all in session at one time. And so here comes, Peter and John in front of them, and it consisted of a high priest and about 70 other Pharisees and Sadducees, 70 other people. So, Peter and John, they come out and say, look, I know because really what they took them in on is they healed a guy on the Sabbath. And they said, look, I know you're mad with us about healing this guy. And they're like, well, sorry, but he was healed by the power of Jesus. You can't get away from it. And by the way, that's the Jesus that you crucified. That power that just healed that guy in front of God and everybody, you crucified him, by the way. Says, and then they go on to say, there's no other way you can be right with the Lord except through Jesus. There's no other way, and they say in verse 13 and 14, they say Peter and John, they call them, they were unschooled, ordinary men. In other words, they didn't have anything in their bag. So basically, except that they took note that these men had been with Jesus, which is a powerful, powerful thing. I think here's these 2 guys standing before the most powerful group in the land. They've got nothing. They're uneducated. They don't have any great wisdom. They've just been with Jesus, and now they're standing toe-to-toe with the greatest leaders in the land, which is amazing. So there's nothing to say. They tell them they need to quit, and they said, we're not, because we're not going to quit, so you can just beat us and throw us in jail, whatever you want to do. I don't really care. Because here's the deal, I'd rather disobey you than I would disobey God. That would be a great thing to happen in our country. I think that would be amazing. But, so they made some more threats, and they were afraid, but because they were afraid that all these 5,000, all these people had changed over, they were afraid to keep them in jail and punish them, so they let them go, and God, just did an amazing miracle and just let them out. And sometimes I wonder, why don't we see amazing things like this happen all the time around us? But I want to take a look at this, and let's see some things that we should be expecting when we plug into prayer with Christ. In verse 20 and 23, in Acts chapter 4, it says this, on their release, Peter and John went back to their own people and reported all that the chief priests and the elders had said to them. Now listen what happens. When they heard this, they raised their voices together in prayer to God. Now I think that's amazing, because I think if some of our friends had been released from prison in an amazing fashion. They were unjustly taken in. I mean, I think if I look at our culture and our people today, we would probably get everybody to bring some food over and we'd have a barbecue. We'd have a party. We'd go out to eat at, I don't know, TGI Fridays or something. Yeah, this is awesome. Or the steakhouse, or whatever like that. I'd rather go to steakhouse, But go out to something, we'd celebrate in some way. But what was their first response? It wasn't hug them, it wasn't clap them on the back. When they heard the story, the first response they said was they raised their voices together in prayer to God. See, that tells us something about what prayer should be in our priority list. See, prayer should always be our first response, not the last resort. I think we get into problem with that. I think we take on way more damage, way more problems in our life when we say, okay, I'm going to try to fix it, and we do everything we can to fix it, and then we go to the Lord. I mean, sometimes I'll do that at home. Sometimes, we want to repair something, and I may imagine myself to be an awesome repairman, and I'll sit there and try to fix everything, and I'll end up messing stuff up, and then I'll have to call the repair guy and pay him, and probably pay more because I messed something else up, and then, we've had to go all this time without this working or this problem in the home because I've been trying to fix it, and then all of a sudden we just went ahead and went to the repairman anyway. Sometimes I think that's how we do with the Lord. It's like we think we can fix everything and we're some kind of expert, and we end up making a bigger mess. And we finally go to God. He has more to clean up. And of course, he's capable of doing that. First Thessalonians 5:17, this tells us where prayer should be. And it says, pray continually. Pray continually. In other words, this is not like, it doesn't say, now I want you to get in the corner with your head bowed on your knees and just sit there all day and don't work, don't do anything. Your boss comes up, if you're at work, taps you on the head, hey, get up, and you're, no, I'm just praying, I can't do my work. You're going to get fired that way. But God, that's not what that says. That's what that means. It means to be in a constant source of communication with God. Always be ready to pray. And anything comes up, sometimes I'm praying, I'm doing stuff, and I come up against something, or I want to know something. I'm, Lord, what should I think about that? I'll see something on social media, and I'm, God, is that real? Do you think that's right? Is that what should I listen to? I'll see two competing articles about something, and I'll go, oh, Lord, what should I do about that? There's this constant communication with God. But what it takes is giving God that premier priority in your life. It's like there's a slot in your life where you go for wisdom, right? And you may have a friend up there, or you may have your dad or your mom up there if they're still here. And you may have someone in your life, your boss or someone you really respect, and I call them. Well, really, that spot is for God first. And he actually will direct you to the people you need to talk to. But you go to him first. If your first response is to call a friend, you have yet to understand what God is trying to do for you. First in Philippians 4:6-7, it talks about prayer. It says, do not be anxious for anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And then here's the answer to that. And as a result of that, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart, your emotions, and your mind. It'll guard your mind in Christ Jesus. Notice it says in every situation. Here's what you need to understand. There is never a situation in your life that prayer is not an appropriate response. It's appropriate in every situation, not just freak out situations, or when things are going wrong, or when you've really messed up, or when something bad is coming, but in every situation with thanksgiving. How do you give thanks? I'm at my, when something tough happens, how do you give thanks when a big problem is coming your way? When you've lost your job, or you and your neighbor had a big fight, or something's going on that you just don't, how does that come out? I mean, if you believe verses like John 10:10, where it says that Christ came that we may have life and have it to the full. If you believe Romans 8:28, that all things work for the good of those who love and serve the Lord and are called according to his purpose, you have to approach God with that understanding. So when you come in prayer with the tough thing, you're not necessarily saying, thank you so much for the tough thing, but you're saying, Lord, I believe you're about to show your power in this, and I trust you for this. I trust you for the outcome, and I am eager to see what you're going to do to help in this situation. So I thank you in advance. We put TIA on our text messages. We put thanks in advance on emails and stuff like that, because we'll say thanks in advance. I'm asking for this, and I'm thanking you in advance. That's how we approach the Lord, because it's not just someone out there that might do it, for any help. We know he is the solution, so we thank him in advance with that thanksgiving. But we need to be honest about our feelings. I'm not saying, mask your feelings and say, oh, I feel really bad, but I know you're going to be okay, God. I'm not saying that. But affirm your commitment that you're thankful that God is on the job and become expectant for the solution. Look for it. That makes excitement from despair. And the result of that kind of response and faith, then the peace of God, which transcends all understanding. You don't understand why you're okay with it. I'll be all right. It'll work out. Something that makes you calm and assured and whole in the most ridiculous of circumstances. That is yours. That's how when the house is falling down, your life's not over, But not only does the peace come, but God tells you that the peace will not only slow you down and hold you, but it will actively guard your heart, your feelings, and your emotions, and it will guard your mind, your thoughts that lead to actions and decisions. In other words, he's saying, I'm going to come beside you, and I'm going to kind of get around you, I'm going to guard you, and we're going to work you through the things you need to do moving forward. I'm going to say, hey, you'll get 2 options or 3 options, and go, okay, I have 3 options, and I got to make this decision quick, and you'll hear that voice. Remember, it talks in the Old Testament about you hear a voice beside you saying to the left or to the right. It's like, yeah, this is the one. No, don't do that one. Do this one. Go with it. Trust me on this. We're going to work it out. It's going to look like a roller coaster ride, but trust me, we're going to end in the end. It's going to be great, and you're going to love it. And you look back on it, what a memory. And I may even take a picture of it somewhere where you can go to the end. When you go to Disney World and you get off the ride and you go to the end, and there's this picture that they took right at the scariest point, and you're like, ah! God may have a picture like that. I think the best pictures are those who are going, yeah, I want to be that guy. I don't want to be, I don't want to be that guy. I want to be, yeah. So think about it as you're going through here. God said, I may take a picture of it, and you may get that great picture of you going, woo, and you're riding it on the way down, you get that picture of faith and trust in God to add on top of it. Or you may get the scary picture, and you go, see, you didn't need to look like that. So don't look like that. Just trust me next time. That's maybe how it goes. See, faith not only believes that God will get the job done, but faith also believes that God is doing what is best. And that's the hard part. When you trust God for something and you move ahead with it, like the situation with Katie and I, we didn't even see that coming. I didn't even know that was an option. And had I been demanding God, if I had, it has to be this way, God, and I won't accept, if I didn't want trusting God in that way, this option that I didn't even see, it was completely out of my field of vision, it would never have been there. All of a sudden, boom, the Lord stepped in and brought something amazing. And we have to trust him that that's his best. But it continues on in the back end of verse 24. It says, Sovereign Lord, they said, you have made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything in them. And I think this is important about their prayer, because it shows something about what prayer does for us. Prayer is communication with God that demonstrates our theological beliefs. In other words, it is something you do that demonstrates what you really believe. There's a famous evangelist. He was actually from Merritt Island, and for a while, his name was Peter Lord. And there's a great quote that I've remembered all my life. I've shared it with you. If you've been around Bay West much, heard it before. It said, you do what you believe. All the rest is just religious talk. That just gets to you. And what prayer does, when you come to God first in prayer, you're demonstrating what you truly believe. Where we resort to prayer in the timeline of our issue demonstrates what we believe about prayer and what we believe about God. Growing up, the smart bomb of every problem that I had as a kid was mom. Mom! It's for me. Y'all may say mom down here. Some people say mom. I said ma. It wasn't even mom. It was like, Ma! Hey, I can't find my shirt. Ma! Hey, I fell off the tree and busted my head. Ma! That's how it was just immediate. It was just, that was a smart bomb. Mom could fix everything. And that's kind of how it went my whole life. You just destroyed. It was like I brought in this this competition destroying everything, when I invoked the name of Ma, in everything. And why? Because I thought there was something that no one could argue with. When you're arguing with your friends or maybe with your siblings, maybe you ran into this and it was like, Mom, and the first one could get to Ma, was suddenly right. The first one to plead their case sounds correct until the cross-examination begins. That proverb there. But it's like whoever got to Ma first had the upper hand. And I think that's what we need to see. We need to see that prayer is amazing. What they did, they were recognizing, hey, I'm going right to the top. I'm not wasting my time with rulers or policemen, or not that policemen or rulers are wasting time or stuff like that completely, but I'm going right here first. That's my first priority. I'm going to the top. I'm going to the boss. I'm going to the Creator. You made everything, God. I'm going here. They went first to prayer because they went to the top. The recognition of God as the originator of everything showed that He was a top priority in their lives. This is where I'm going to go. And see, prayer recognizes who you serve. It's not just going to God and presenting a request and God coming in and doing these amazing things. This is also saying, God, it's not God is on my side. No, I'm on your side, God. And sometimes you have to go to God and say, look, what is your side? Because I want to get on that side. And if I'm not on that side, I want to run around over there and get on your side, and be like that. It's kind of like if you're in you got two rival gangs fighting or something like that, and all of a sudden you realize the other gang is bigger, and you're like, let me just run around over here. Yeah, that's right. And you kind of do that thing. That's what we need to be doing. We need to run to God's side. And that's what we're saying. Verse 25, it continues on. It says, you spoke by the Holy Spirit through the mouth of your servant, our father David. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and against His anointed one. What they're doing actually there is that prayer was a quote from Psalm 2. And they spoke of this to remind themselves of God's long track record of fixing things. And they showed that this was a prophecy of what was happening. The nations and the peoples and the kings and the rulers of the earth, they were kind of getting together, like the Jews and the Romans, the religious leaders and the Romans, and they were all going against Jesus, God's anointed one, but they were going against God in that. And even further than this, Psalm 2 paints a picture for us of what we have to do, have at our disposal in prayer. And I love these verses. You go read the whole Psalm 2 some other time, but I'm just going to read this to you. Verse 8 and 9 says, this is what God says to them. He says, ask me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with the rod of iron. You will dash them like pieces of pottery. See, prayer is powerful. There's a great book by E.M. Bounds called The Weapon of Prayer. And here's a quote from it about prayer. It's amazing. It says, prayer is not a wish or a hope. It is a force. In a lot of ways, it's the greatest weapon we have. So in whatever battle you're fighting, if you're not in prayer desperately about that first and all the time, you're leaving the greatest weapon you have to conquer whatever's in front of you on the side and taking it on your own. You're reading the weapon that is undefeated, the connection with God, going to the great and holy God. You're leaving that to the side and just taking your lumps for no reason. In verse 27, they continue on. It said, indeed, Herod and Pontius Pilate met together with the Gentiles and the people of Israel in this city to conspire against your holy servant Jesus, who you anointed. They did what your power and will had decided beforehand should happen. And I think that's what it is. We have to understand, too, is that prayer also is about accepting God's authority as it is about requests to change reality. You have to think about it. When you pray to God, are you saying, God, I need you to fix it. And however you choose to fix it, I'm good with it. If that seems to make the problem bigger for a while, I'm good with it. If you don't do it just the way I said, I'm good with it. If when we get to the end of this, the problem is solved, I've grown, that's good enough for me. I trust you, even if I don't get the vindication moment, or if I don't get the moment where I get to stand over my enemy and go, ha, I told you I was right. If you don't get to do that, that is good enough for me because I trust you that it's your best. Or do your prayers boil down to a series of complaints about the world? an insecure list of what you wish God would change about you? Or is there a mix of sincerely praising God for the solution that hasn't come and isn't seen, but it's coming? Are you looking to God to take you away, or are you ready and willing for him to get honor from the way you handle the situation you're in? I think that's tough when the health problem is there and the diagnosis is dire, and you pray for healing, but you also say to God, look, I trust you. And if you get the greatest glory out of my sickness, then I will be the best follower of Christ in this I can, because I will believe that it was the best for me. That's hard. That's hard. But that's faith, and that's understanding prayer. Does that mean that we don't pray for things to change? Absolutely not. Jesus, he said himself, Lord, if you'd take this from me, God, Father, if you'll take this from me, I'd sure appreciate it. But if not, you do it your way. You do it, stick to the plan. Do the best way possible. Your will be done, Do you trust God enough that there is do you trust God enough to believe that there is value at where you are, and you can be 100% successful in what he wants you to do exactly where you are right now? Do you trust him in that? If he led you here, can you trust him? See, prayer is about accepting that as well, about reminding yourself as well. And we go on to verse 29, it says this, it says, now, Lord, consider their threats and enable your servants to speak your word with great boldness. I love that. He didn't say, enable your servants to kick their tail in a ninjutsu type fashion, that would be great on a movie. He said, look, enable your servants to speak your word with great boldness. Stretch out your hand to heal and perform signs and wonders through the name of your holy servant, Jesus. And now, why didn't he say, you just go do it? Let us just go do it. He said, no, I want to let us speak with boldness, and you reach out. Why? Because when we do things together, relationship is better. When I watch kid TV with my kids at times, it's better when I watch it with them in the room. Why? Because somehow proximity creates a greater relationship. At times, that's why we go do things with people. That's why the church comes together. We work together. My dad and I, he would tell, we were hard to communicate. He was a child of the Great Depression. I was a child of the 80s, the self-indulgent 80s, and we butted heads so often, but we forged our relationship working on things together and learning together. A lot of times on the farm and in the field. And, and I think that's where our relationships come together. Do you pray for God to just change the situation, or for you to have and execute your part in the story faithfully? Do you see yourselves as participating with God, or just as a spectator that you want him to go fix that while you sit over here and sip tea? What does he see? It's this working together. The exercise is about you being found with Christ. It's relational. And finally, verse 31, it says, after they prayed, the place where they were meeting was shaken. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and spoke the word of God boldly. You see that? God showed up. Power was evident, and he answered their prayer. Yes, I will help you speak it boldly. And it happened right there. See, that is prayer that shakes a place. That type of prayer makes a difference in our world. It changes the world. It strengthens your relationship with God. It brings courage to continue with him. It takes that relationship at work and changes it into something over time you never thought was possible. It takes that financial situation that you didn't know how it was going to work out, and it works out in some crazy 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon type of convoluted way, and you're just like, that for 15 things had to happen just at the right time, at the right moment, and you look back and you go, wow, that just happened. We make videos of crazy trick shots and put them up on YouTube all the time, and the truth is that when we follow God, we should be able to see crazy trick shots in our life all the time and just point at God and go, you are amazing. Because see, the result of real prayer life, that is life shaking. It shook the room. It can shake our lives. Do you see prayer that way? I mean, for them, prayer wasn't just a quickly said blessing before a meal or a quick phrase, or no investment really of time. I mean, they understood its value, and they regularly saw the fruit of something that was powerful. Do you invest in prayer? Or is it something you just kind of say over here? Is it something that you're kind of got I remember there's that episode of The Office where Jim and Pam they've got the tiniest Bluetooth earpieces and they stay on the phone with each other all day. Are you like that with God all day? The phone line's open and you're doing your job, but that's who you're talking to. Are you there with that? What if you took prayer and your life with Christ in a way that saw God change impossible things? What if you took it that serious and you saw God change things? What if our church, what if all those believers out there, you that are watching and those that will be in the room on Sunday, what if we really took prayer seriously as a weapon? And we all kind of came together and went to customer service together. When you go to customer service, sometimes they're not so friendly, but we have a God who loves us, that wants to be there for us, that wants to show himself in the world. And when we come and we ask things of him and we say, but I submit to your best, he says, let me give you my best. Boom. And there you go. What if we approach prayer with the fervence that we post on Facebook? What if we prayed more than we put up memes? Or have heated discussions about work and school or politicians? Or what if we spent all the time and energy that we spend either vilifying Trump or vilifying Joe Biden and said, look, we're going to pray for both of them where they are right now, and pray that God would do great things in their lives. And would we see God change our country, change our leaders, change our economy, change our situation? Will we see, if the situation didn't change, we would see it change maybe from a negative to a positive, and how God would start working and lives would start changing, and our culture and our hatred and our racism and our animosity and our just polarized culture, would we see God begin to bring it together? If we begin to truly employ the weapon that God gave us to make change, because the prayer of a righteous man, as God inspired his writer to write, availeth much, accomplishes a lot. What if we did that? What if we prayed to God and just gave him and said, every day I'm going to pray and ask God for specific things? I think our prayer time would increase because there would be more things we want to pray about. I think our prayer time would increase because we would see God work more because we're expectantly watching. I think we would be amazed at the type of solutions that we wouldn't see coming, that God would just throw in front of us and be like, oh my goodness. I think that's what we would see. To do that, Christ follower, you have to commit to using the weapon that you have. And be in prayer. Trust God. Commit yourself. Reiterate your commitment to him. Say, I want your solution, the best you have, and then thank you for it in advance. TIA, thank you in advance, because I know it's coming. If you're not a Christ follower out there, the way you do that is you begin to follow Christ. You say, look, I'm a sinner. We're all sinners. That's what's up. We've all done something wrong. If you ever said, I know I shouldn't do this, but there you go. And sin is just doing something different than what God would have done. That's really what it is. It's bad because God is the best, and it's kind of the law because he's the creator. We broke that. No matter how it works, it's one on, we're off, and the punishment for that is death and eternal separation from God. We kind of are saying, okay, I don't want to do what you want to do, and I'm going to do my thing. I don't want to be around you. That's what we say. And we break that relationship, which is vital to us. And truthfully, there was no way we can make up for that once we've done it. But the good thing is God sent Jesus, who was fully God and fully man. He came and lived a life on this earth. He never did anything that God didn't want him to do. He never sinned, and he lived his life, and he took on the death that was meant for us and died on a cross for us, and took that separation from God from us. And he was raised again on the third day, beat death and hell, and return to live with God, return back to God, and helps us and is there for us. And if we give our lives to him, if we trust him with lives, say, you're Lord, you're the boss, God. And we trust him with our lives so much that we let him manage it. Look, I'm going to do it your way. If you say go right, I'm going to go right, even though left looks really, really good. You know, whatever you say, God, that's what I'm going to do. And we do that and follow him, then he comes in and changes who we are and begins this process over our lifetime of changing who we are and making us more like him and helping us see what the world is about and have wisdom to deal with the things that are here. And that life continues after our physical death, which is what happens, and then we continue on with him in heaven in glory. That's great. That is, to me, the biggest no-brainer decision ever. But it is a decision nonetheless. And that's a choice for you. If you decide to make that decision today, I wish you would go to baywestchurch.com/connect or run the interface of this video. There's a connect button. Click that and let us know you've made that decision. If you prefer to text, no worries. Just text 321-345-3292 if you have a prayer request or you've made a decision to follow God. If you're involved in a church and you just stayed home today and you made that decision today, awesome. Go tell your pastor. He's going to love you for that. If you're part of another part of the country, man, make sure you text us and let us know. We'd love for you to continue to be a part of what we're doing. I'm going to thank you so much for being here today. Remember, if you'd like to be part of one of our life groups, baywestchurch.com/groups. Click on there. And if you're local, you can definitely attend. If you're not comfortable coming out or you're farther away, we have people that have attended and signed up for our groups from as far as Texas. So, I mean, if you want to do that, totally no problem at all. Just sign up online and we'll Zoom you in. No worries. You know, if you remember, if parents join our Facebook group, our Bay West KIDZONE Facebook group, just go to facebook.com, search Bay West KIDZONE, join that group, and we will support you there. If you'd like to give your tithes and offerings, obviously that make that opportunity for obedience available. You can go to baywestchurch.com/give, or you can give by sending a check to made out to Bay West Church. Send it to Bay West Church, 100 Emerson Drive, Northwest, Palm Bay, Florida, 32907. Look, we're going to talk about next week what the real problem in the world is, and I really don't think we're ever going to get to the solution of things like we should until we really understand what the real problem is. And I am going to tell you what that is next week. It is a singular problem, and it has one real great solution. And until we get it, we're not going to see the gains that we want. So don't miss next week. Catch you later.